Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Reimagining Cyber. Today's guest is Lisa Plagemeyer, the Executive Director at the National Cybersecurity Alliance. And for some of you, you may recall, we actually did have Lisa on in the past. It's been a little bit longer than what I realized, but it's so great to have you back on, Lisa. And first off, congratulations on the 20th anniversary of Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
It's great to be with you again, too.
I wanted to start with having people understand more around the mission and purpose of NCA. So maybe you can kind of give everyone an overview and just kind of set the stage for what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So the National Cybersecurity Alliance is the founding organization of Cybersecurity Awareness Month. That's probably what we're best known for. So I like to tell people, if you're sick and tired of talking about cybersecurity, by the end of October, now you know who to blame. So our mission is really around public education and educating people, whether they're in the workforce, or we find that the folks who need the most help are folks that aren't yet in the workforce, maybe in their teens or their 20s. Mm-hmm. And then folks that are no longer in the workforce. I have a great research study of one, which is my struggles trying to keep my mom and my aunt out of trouble on the internet and mm-hmm. keep them from being defrauded. So for those aging Americans, we have content to try and help them stay safe online as well, or content that, their adult kids, people like me, can use to try and help those folks stay safe online. So it's really all around, what security people would call end user training and awareness, or latest buzzword in the industry, human risk, trying to protect humans.
Hey, one of the things that I wanted to also kind of delve into a little bit is CISA now is co-leading the campaign with NCA. And I just wanted to get your thoughts and kind of, share your perspectives on the value that they're bringing forward and working together and co-leading this.
Yeah, we really value our partnership with CISA. We've been partnered with them since the very beginning, since we founded the organization and started Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We've worked with them every year since. So it's been 21 years of partnership, and it changes depending on, what CISA's priorities are, or, what's important to the leadership. And I can honestly say these last couple of years with their Secure Our World campaign and our ability to work together on that, that stakeholder engagement team that we work with and their leadership on that campaign, they've gone bigger and broader with the messaging than we've ever seen them do. They've put a lot more budget behind things like PSAs and developing the campaign. And so one of the changes that we were able to make a couple of years ago when we were embarking on the Secure Our World campaign with them was consistency. So I come from the world of consumer marketing. And as you can imagine, if you turn to security professionals and say, well, what do we need to tell everybody this October? It's going to be, theoretically 10 pages of advice, all these different things. And so we tried to figure out what are the most important pieces of advice. Like if we could get large portions of the public to make a couple of simple changes, what would make the biggest dent in global cybercrime? And so that's why you see the same 4 behaviors this year that we had last year, that we had the year before. And I think we're all really focused on talking about those same things until we see meaningful change, until we see more and more people adopting MFA, for example, or more and more organizations making it mandatory, or, having it enabled by default, as opposed to an option that a user has to, go deep into the settings somewhere to enable. So until we see meaningful change on something like that, we're going to keep talking about these same behaviors.
You just said something to me that just triggered kind of my thought process. And I've discussed this many times in previous episodes, which is like something like so simple as MFA, and just make it default, please. Right? Just make it default, like something so simple as that. Then you talked about other things around, obviously, passwords, right? And changing the passwords, using strong passwords and continuing to do that. Obviously, people needing to deal with and understand how to recognize, phishing and how to report it effectively. So all of those things come into play. And I think you're right. It's just, we have to continue to ensure that foundation is put in place. And until, we really get it, you got to continue to drive it home.
It can be really hard for security folks too, to kind of boil the ocean like that. Because you ask somebody like, okay, what are all the best practices? What should I be doing at home to keep myself and my family safe? And like, there could be a laundry list. But if we don't boil it down, the problem is you hit people with a laundry list. That's just overload, and they walk away and they don't do any of it. We try and make things sound as simple and straightforward as we possibly can.
Yeah, we do. We try to keep it simple, that's for sure. Now, I wanted to get into a few really great initiatives that you and the team at NCA have taken on since we last spoke. And this one we didn't cover on the initial episode you were on, but we did kind of have a conversation in the background of your thoughts and what you wanted to be able to bring to fruition. And it's awesome when we were just connecting recently that it's come to fruition and it's been out there for a little bit of time, and shame on me for not even realizing that, but I love it because I am a huge fan of The Office. So I think that's just a great connection point, but this is also nice for you. I know because of your background in marketing, as you explained a little while ago, and then connecting it to getting people drawn into something. So why don't you share, I'll give it to you, right? What's this Cubicle series all about? And what's the foundation of kind of where it came from? Like give everyone really the backstory and again, what it is today that's available for them.
Yeah, we're super excited. This is a video series that's had over 8 million views, and we're getting ready to crank up another advertising campaign right now. And I'm guessing we'll get another million or so for that advertising spend. So basically, when I was new in cybersecurity, and I used to do things that we all did, like change my password by just a few characters here and there and think that was unique, or, any of the other things you think you're doing, somehow you're outsmarting the bad guy. Like people make things up in their heads because they don't want to be hacked, but then, they're trying to make sense of it all. And so a lot of people you speak to that aren't familiar with how these things work will just kind of tell you about some of the habits they have that they think are somehow mysteriously keeping bad guys away. And when I learned that I was up against someone whose job it was to attack me, that's when I realized, like, they're all sitting in cubicles and they're all having this like workaday existence like the rest of us, but this is their job. And they're using technology to be more efficient, to be more effective. Like they're trying to be really good at their job, just like I try to be good at my job. And that was a light bulb moment for me personally, when I was like, okay, these little stupid things I'm doing, like this is not going to cut it because I'm up against technology. I'm up against, or huge organizations that are, really good at this. So that was the impetus for the whole campaign. And we had a funder come forward, and this is a large company who just said, hey, we want to do something really creative and really edgy. We don't want you to tell anybody that it's us. And we don't want to get involved because we know we'll spoil the creative process. So I'm like, I have just the idea for you. So we shot it in an office setting. There's 12 episodes. They're just a couple minutes each. Probably one of my favorite stats is that the vast majority of people who watch it cast it to a larger device. They're watching it on a TV. Even though it's just a couple minute video, they're not just kind of scrolling through like you would on social media. So that was really great to hear. But yeah, we've had 8.2 million views, and it's on cubicleseries.com, cubicle spelled with K's. But literally the audience we were going for, the demographic we wanted, was people who don't care about security. People who aren't even really that interested in technology. And if you want to get the attention of those folks and you want them to watch a video, then you have to prioritize the entertainment factor first. Because if you know they're not interested in security and you say, hey, come watch a funny security video, they're going to be like, yeah, no, thank you. I'm not interested.
The definition doesn't connect, right?
Right.
Comedy and security, but you did a great job in pulling that forward. So that's awesome. And I think, again, I love it because it does connect kind of to the way the Office series work. So wanted to talk about yet another great program that was launched, and that's about really helping SMBs, small business, medium kind of size organizations. So talk about, Cybersecurity My Business program. What's it all about? What have you seen kind of as value back to the SMBs and their participation in it?
Well, we've had a program for small businesses for quite a while. And before COVID, it was in person, and we would do like half-day workshops. And honestly, in that half day, all you ended up doing was like scaring people, right? You get a few speakers talking about the state of the problem, and that's not enough time for a small business person to walk away with like a security plan or like any sort of practical advice. And like, they go back to their business and maybe they say to their IT person, like, we need to do something, but they don't know what the something is.
Right.
And so we took a pause during COVID and started, just doing webinars. And then I was talking to a friend of mine. So John Elliott he's a global PCI expert, used to be the CISO for EasyJet. He's based over in the UK. He's a great instructor. He and Troy Hunt probably have the most security content on Pluralsight of any of the other Pluralsight authors. They started that, probably close to 10 years ago now. And that's how I know him, was from his Pluralsight content. So he's entertaining, he's funny, he's a regular speaker at things like RSA. and he's our instructor. So he helped us build a course that's led by John, that's taught once a week remotely, but live instructor led. And by the time somebody gets out of that class, they kind of, know what the plan is. Hopefully they've already executed some of the things they've been taught. The point of the class is it's really targeted at small business owners and operators and leaders. And it's taught 100% in business terminology. So we're teaching them about how to manage security as a risk to their business and how to have a high quality conversation with your MSP or your IT provider, whether that's an employee or a vendor. Because these are folks that, they understand enough about finance to have a good quality conversation with their accountant. They don't understand enough about technology to have a good quality conversation with their IT person. They're not even sure how to hire an MSP or an MSSP. They don't know what questions they should be asking. What should they be measuring? And so when we looked around at all the other resources that are out there for SMBs, we all found that it's very technical. There's toolkits and there's other lots of technical resources, and that's fantastic. But it's going to be the owner or the operator that's going to set the priorities and set the budget for that IT function. And if they don't know enough about it to set the budget, they don't know if, like I said, what questions to ask their IT person, then it's really hard to get all the things done that need to be done because they don't understand enough about it to manage it. So that's really the point of that class.
The other program that's really interesting, I wanted to get your thoughts and kind of share, again, an overview on the program, but also maybe an example of success. And it's around the HBCU, the Historically Black College and University students, really emphasizing driving more, I would say, kind of a way to enable, but also recruit and help with obviously the roles that we have many of open cyber roles out there in the marketplace. And it's about obviously, focusing on mentorship and helping them, identify cybersecurity jobs. So talk about that program. And again, the success would be awesome to hear about.
Yeah, so that's called See Yourself in Cyber, and that's got 3 elements to it. We do in-person events at HBCUs. There's a mentorship program, and then there's a scholarship program, and we partner with ISACA on the scholarship program. So if somebody gets a scholarship, they don't just get money, they also get ISACA benefits to access to courses and some job placement or career placement kind of tools and help that ISACA provides. I think the successes for us there, I think you referenced a job gap in cybersecurity, and I think that's closing that gap. I'm not seeing as many organizations out there hiring, and we're starting to see some layoffs that have also affected security folks instead of those layoffs happening to the rest of the company and security being exempt from that. That's not always the case anymore. So that's caused us, just the slowdown in hiring has caused us to look at that program and make sure that we're measuring success the right way, because success isn't just how many people got a job. Right. If there's not a lot of hiring happening, some of the organizations that sponsor that program and participate in those events, they might not have active roles that they're hiring for, but they want to make sure that they're developing relationships with the students, when the students are underclassmen, and because they might have openings by the time that student graduates, or they're just trying to fill their talent pipeline in general, even if they don't have existing openings. So when you look at a job market like that, then you have to say, well, okay, how are we measuring our success with this program? And the reason we started that program was really similar to the CSMB program, the small business program. We saw a gap where there are resources, there are technical resources, there's, certification classes and programs and scholarships and everything for trying to attract more students of color into the field. But when it comes to those sort of career skills, the deciding what you want to do when you grow up, right? Like if you talk to first generation college students in particular at HBCUs, they don't have that context. If their parents didn't go to school or don't have a white collar job, then they're lacking the context for trying to figure out what one of those jobs would be like. And so when we hold the events, we really focus on all the different job roles that are available, because it's, just go to the NIST website. It's as long as your arm. There are so many different things, from being an attorney that works on incident response all the way to, being out on the dark web all day. I mean, the job roles are just so, GRC, like there's just so many different things you could do. The other thing about security jobs is, for the most part, the kids just know what they see on TV and the movies and hear in the news. They don't really have reference points for these jobs. I didn't when I was exposed to the field.
Yeah.
So we spend a lot of time on that piece. And for me right now, the success, just getting to know more of these students, hearing the stories of imposter syndrome, and I mean, such bad imposter syndrome that they couldn't even walk into a job fair on their campus. Just didn't even feel like they could handle the social anxiety of walking through there and different recruiters and people wanting to talk to them and not just really struggling with that situation. And these are people that now have successful careers in cybersecurity and they make good incomes.
So the last piece I wanted to ask you is just, again, looking forward now, right, for the National Cybersecurity Alliance, what do you see as what's next and what is it you're really focused on going forward?
So we do every year our OBehave study along with LiveSafe in the UK. And this year we added AI questions. SAP came on as one of the sponsors and said, well, can you add a few questions on AI? And we said, yes, because that's a fantastic idea. So we asked people about public trust in AI. And as you can imagine, maybe you wouldn't have predicted, but I think I wasn't shocked when I saw that it's older folks that don't trust it as much as younger folks. One of the questions we asked was, have you put sensitive employer information in an AI tool without your employer's knowledge? That number is a lot higher than you'd want it to be. And I think the dynamic there is that people still think of it like Google. They still think of what they're getting back. They don't think about what they're putting in or what they're giving away to the universe, right? They're just looking to get something out of it and they don't realize what they're contributing. So we're going to be talking more about that. The data, from the FBI and others about the losses to cybercrime and fraud and scams with aging adults still is just gutting. So we're looking at making some new content for seniors. We had one of the big training and awareness companies come to us and say, we're getting requests from our enterprise clients to help them with their parents, to help our employees keep their parents safe. Because it's a distraction, right? And it's a stress. And so if I've got a parent who's suffered identity theft, for example, or, fallen for some scam, it takes a couple hours to unravel that. I've been through that with a few relatives, a few aging family members. So anything that companies can give to their employees to help them with those situations. So we're trying to figure out what does the content look like, or what is the best avenue to get through to that demographic. It could be, it could be content for caregivers. It could be something, what would Cubicle look like for senior citizens, right? Like what would the video be that they would watch for the entertainment value, but then learn something at the same time? Do we need a direct mail piece? Like what does it look like? Is it all of the above?
Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, again, you guys have just done such a great job at bringing these different programs forward. I'm glad you were able to share more about them. But Lisa, thank you so much for coming back and sharing more again about these great programs. We will absolutely link these back into the show notes as well for folks to be able to take advantage of. And again, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Hello, producer Ben here, and there is nothing we would like more than for you to subscribe or follow Reimagining Cyber. It means that every single new episode will fall into your podcast library as soon as it's released. And to motivate you to do this straight away, here's a clip from our next edition. It features Christina Walter, recently appointed as the director of NSA's Cybersecurity Collaboration Center.
We know major attack vector is unpatched systems, outdated software. So what we do is we try to help a company understand, do you know that this is internet facing? Here are your assets that are exposed to the open internet. And this is an old version of software that you're running here, or you need to patch this system. What we find is they want prioritization because they have limited resources that they're trying to address. So we can say, hey, we know nation state actors are targeting this known vulnerability and you are running it on this particular portion of your network. We recommend that you patch it, and they can take action on it quickly to try to mitigate that.
That was Christina Walter, the director of NSA's Cybersecurity Collaboration Center. So act now, and that episode will be with you as soon as it's released next Wednesday. Thanks for listening to Reimagining Cyber. Goodbye.